Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? It looks like the 2024 budget schedules are being reviewed. So we're going to be able to take a look at that, as well as the change in the exchange rate that's supposed to be inside the budget. So let's get into this, shall we? Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, head on over to our friends at Miles Franklin. The link will be down below in the description. When you make your purchase, make sure you use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they'll take care of you. If you have any additional questions, you can reach us over here at this phone number or over here at this particular email. For all orders over $10,000, reach out by email and we'll make sure that you get a great deal. So come on over to Miles Franklin and add to your precious metal inventory. First things first, the central bank begins a second phase in its banking reform strategy. So the reforming of the banks is moving right along. This is another major step for Iraq, and it's looking good. The central banks announced that it will launch the national lending strategy on May the 25th, which is a clear announcement of the beginning of the second phase of its banking reform strategy. And this means that it has completed the first phase of it by achieving tangible and important results in the field of regulating foreign trade, financing, and regulating the global financial system through strict adherence to the international compliance standards, building sober international banking relations with international banks and correspondent banks, and introducing local currencies for countries with trade exchange, which is important to deal with cash in their local currencies in addition to dealing in US dollars, as well as activating and strengthening its procedures in the transition from the monetary economy to the digital economy, and cooperating with the government in expanding the use of electronic payment tools and spreading the culture of transition to the cash society. Certainly, the above tasks have occupied a large space of efforts at the local and international levels. In the second phase, the focus will be on restructuring banks, especially government banks, and starting to implement new policies to support and develop small and medium enterprises, and directly with the establishment and approval of the Iridia Bank and the approval of the Green Bank, which will specialize in sustainable financing for renewable energy projects, as well as the orientation of digital banks to keep pace with progress in the field of modern digital banking products. The online platform will also be phased out this year. That is very interesting. One of the tasks that will begin to be worked on is to rehabilitate the restricted banks from dealing in US dollars to comply with the international standards in light of the work of the Joint Committee between the Central Bank and the US Treasury, through which the work of these banks in the activity of foreign transfers for previous years will also be analyzed and audited in the hopes that restrictions will be lifted. What he expected from the procedures and policies adopted by the central bank in the first phase, and what it has achieved, and what will be achieved from the second phase of the banking reform strategy, will be reflected in the stability of the exchange rate and the recovery of the Iraqi Dinar inevitably. Of course, that's great news to our ears. So it seems like full steam ahead for Iraq and their banking reform. This is going to be a pain in the butt to deal with. Report. Refusal of oil companies to amend their contracts with the region will undermine efforts to resume exports. This is going to be a major plus to the Iraqi people if they can resume oil coming out of Kurdistan. The oil price website on Oil Affairs on Monday that oil companies operating in Kurdistan refused to amend their contracts with the regional government, pointing out that rejecting them will undermine efforts to re-export Kurdish oil. Oil companies operating in Kurdistan refused to amend their contracts with the KRG, which will lead to a dead end in talks in resuming oil exports from Kurdistan. Companies refused to amend, so the process stopped there, the Prime Minister al-Sudani said on the website. Crude oil exports from Kurdistan stopped more than a year ago, after they were closed in March of 2023 due to the dispute over who shall allow Kurdish exports, pointing out that the impasse came in the wake of ruling of International Chamber of Commerce on a dispute between Turkey and Iraq over Kurdistan oil, and the International Criminal Court ruled in favor of Iraq, which said that Turkey should not allow Turkish oil exports through the pipeline between Iraq and Turkey and the Turkish ports of Sinya without the approval of the Iraqi federal government. Earlier this year, Iraq's oil ministry said that foreign oil companies in Iraqi Kurdistan are partly responsible for delays in resuming exports from the semi-autonomous region of OPEC's second largest producer. Last year, a Norwegian company, DNO, one of the 6 members of the Kurdistan Oil Industry Union, said that international oil companies operating in Kurdistan will not produce oil for exports until they have clarity on arrears and futures, payment terms, and sales. Earlier, foreign companies also called on the U.S. Congress to take immediate action to help resolve the problem of halting crude oil exports from Kurdistan. The export of oil is the basis for Iraqi's economy, and all Iraqis will benefit from full production and global sales once the Kurdistan region is resumed. All this is going to do is cause more delay. Hopefully they'll come up with a resolution as quickly as possible, because they're talking about getting 600,000 barrels of oil per day out of Kurdistan. If they could do that, again, that's just more money going to the Iraqi people. Well, here we go. This should be big news. The Finance Committee begins to discuss and study the 2024 budget schedules. Is this what we've been waiting for? We heard that the new exchange rate's going to be in here, so let's take a look, shall we? The Parliamentary Finance Committee holding its first meeting today after receiving the budget schedules for 2024. Anybody want to guess on what the exchange rate is going to be? No looking ahead, no cheating. A parliamentary source told the news that the meeting aims to review the budget schedules and start studying them for the purpose of proceeding with their ratification. Subsequently, the Finance Committee confirmed in a statement holding its first meeting of the federal budget law for 2024 with the aim of developing a comprehensive plan by reviewing and analyzing its budget schedules and items after its arrival from the Prime Minister. The chairman of the Finance Committee announced that they received the budget schedules after its arrival from the presidency of the Council of Ministers in preparation for discussing them and drawing up its own financial policies, stressing the speedy completion before the end of the legislative term of the Council. A statement noted that the committee decided to host the finance and planning ministers to discuss the details of the tables, as well as host their concerns to listen to their opinions and proposals. The statement continued, the committee was briefed on the details received, noting the need to analyze the data contained in current and investment expenditures, as well as the committee agreed to prepare a summary report and present it to the House of Representatives. Yesterday, the acting Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mandawi, referred the draft federal budget law for 2024 to the Finance Committee after receiving it from the Iraqi government. The 2024 budget, according to what was announced by the Sudanese Prime Minister al-Sudani, is 211 trillion dinars, and the salaries of employees for the year 2024 amounted to 62 trillion dinars. While the budget for the year 2023 amounted to 199 trillion dinars, and the salaries of the employees are 59 trillion dinars. The revenues of the 2024 budget, according to the Sudanese, are estimated at 144 trillion and 336 billion dinars, while the expenditures are 210 trillion and 936 billion dinars, while the deficit is 63 trillion and 559 billion dinars. That's a huge deficit. The government allocations to local government programs amounted to an investment allocation of 10.633 trillion dinars in 2023, and we financed 3.333 trillion based on fundamentally requests from the government. Al-Sudani said, adding, the rest of the allocation is 7.33 trillion dinars in the amendment account at the disposal of the provincial governments. So here we are, another budget is getting ready to come and go, and there is no talk of the rate change. Isn't that what they told you it would be in the new budget? Because there was no way for them to do large projects. There was no way for them to move forward without an exchange rate change. Isn't this what you've been promised over and over again? Well, the budget has not passed yet. Keep your fingers crossed. You never know. Maybe it'll pop up. But it certainly should have been mentioned, in my opinion. They had no problems talking about it the last time they increased the value of the Iraqi dinar. So why so secret now? Are they trying to trick people? Is this one of those things that they're trying to keep from the people? Well, they didn't keep it from the people last time, and there's no mention of it this time. But, like I said, keep your fingers crossed. It hasn't passed yet, so maybe they'll change it between now and the time they pass it. You guys let me know what you think. I look forward to hearing from you. I'm out.